Before we begin, take a deep breath. Let your mind settle into stillness, because what you're about to hear is not the version of Carl Jung taught in psychology classes, and not the calm Zen Buddhism filtered through modern wellness culture. This is the hidden bridge the world forgot. A connection so powerful that once you understand it, your entire perception of the mind, the self, and the nature of reality will permanently shift. Today, we're entering a territory where Western psychology and Eastern enlightenment don't just meet, they merge. This is Buddha Unfiltered, and you are about to uncover Carl Jung and Zen Buddhism, the secret connection that changes everything. Before we go deeper, drop a comment. Backhand index pointing right. I walk both paths. Now let's begin. White Medium Star Part 1. The invisible thread between Jung and Zen. Carl Jung is often described as the father of analytical psychology, the explorer of dreams, symbols, archetypes, and the unconscious. Zen Buddhism is the tradition of stillness, sudden awakening, and the direct experience of reality without illusion. On the surface, they seem separated by time, culture, geography, and language. But the truth is something else entirely. Jung and Zen Buddhism are two halves of the same discovery. One came from a psychologist breaking into the depths of the Western mind. The other came from monks dissolving the depths of the Eastern mind. And both reached the same conclusion. Backhand index pointing right, the self you think you are is not who you really are. This realization changed Jung's entire worldview, and it became the foundation of Zen Buddhism thousands of years before he was ever born. This is the connection you were never taught. White Medium Star Part 2. Jung's private confession. The East knows the mind. In public, Jung spoke cautiously about Buddhism. He praised it, criticized it, analyzed it, but always at a distance. But in his private letters, his journal entries, and his undisclosed conversations, he said things the academic world wasn't ready to hear. He wrote, "The real psychological masters lived in India and China." He admitted, "The West is infantile in matters of the mind. The East has mapped terrains we do not understand." And most shockingly, meditation reaches depths Western psychology cannot yet fathom. Jung knew Zen wasn't philosophy. It wasn't belief. It wasn't religion. It was a technology of consciousness, a system for dismantling illusion and entering the raw experience of awareness without the filter of the ego. This terrified Jung and fascinated him at the same time. White Medium Star Part 3. The Illusion of Self. Jung's shadow versus Zen's emptiness. Let's get to the heart of the secret connection. Jung believed that every human being has a persona, the mask or shadow, the repressed parts of the psyche, an ego, the conscious identity, a self, the deeper totality of the psyche. Zen Buddhists believed something equally radical. The self is an illusion, identity is a mental construction. Suffering happens when you cling to the constructed self. Awakening happens when you see through the illusion. Both perspectives point to an identical truth. Backhand index pointing right, the mind hides its true nature behind a false identity. For Jung, the shadow represents everything you push away. For Zen, illusion represents everything you cling to. The language differs. The enemy is the same. Zen says, "Your suffering comes from believing you are the story." Jung says, "Your suffering comes from identifying with the ego and repressing the unconscious." Two traditions, same diagnosis. Suffering isn't caused by life. It's caused by misidentification. White Medium Star Part 4. Jung's fear. Why he warned the West about Zen. Jung admired Zen Buddhism, but he also feared it. He warned Western practitioners. Zen is dangerous for the Western mind because we lack the strong ego foundation required for ego dissolution. What did he mean? The ego in Western culture is highly sensitive, deeply traumatized, easily fragmented, overly identified with thought, obsessed with achievement. Zen practice, especially when deep, directly attacks the ego. It dissolves story. It dismantles identity. It erases the illusion of separation. A fragile ego experiencing sudden dissolution doesn't awaken, collapses. This is why Jung believed Western people must first complete individuation, the strengthening and integrating of the psyche, before attempting enlightenment. Zen masters agreed. A Zen teacher once said, "You must have a self before you can drop the self." Jung found the psychological half. Zen held the spiritual half. Together they form the full path. White Medium Star Part 5. Two Paths to the Same Awakening. Jung's ultimate goal was individuation, integrating the shadow, understanding your unconscious motivations, healing internal fragmentation, developing a stable, aware, mature psyche, realizing your deeper self. Zen's ultimate goal was awakening, seeing through the illusion of self, realizing the emptiness of identity, recognizing awareness as your true nature, experiencing reality without filters, dissolving suffering. Do you see the symmetry? Jung's path builds the vessel. Zen's path empties it. You cannot transcend an ego you have not integrated. This is the secret connection. Backhand index pointing right. Jung describes the journey up the mountain. Zen describes the journey beyond the mountain. Together they form the complete map. White Medium Star Part 6. Mandalas. Jung's key to the Zen mind. If you open Jung's journals, you will find hundreds of mandalas he drew during his inner awakening. He believed the mandala is the symbol of the self. But in Zen Buddhism, a mandala represents something even deeper: impermanence, emptiness, the dissolving of all constructed forms. Monks would spend days making intricate mandalas, then sweep them away the moment they were complete. Jung saw the mandala as wholeness. Zen saw the mandala as illusion, yet both used the same symbol to explore the truth of the mind. How? Because wholeness and emptiness are two sides of the same awakening. White Medium Star Part 7. Dreams. Where Jung met Zen without knowing. Jung saw dreams as messages from the unconscious, symbols revealing the forgotten parts of the psyche. Zen Buddhism saw dreams as illusions, fabrications of the mind no different than waking identity. And yet, both use dreams for liberation. For Jung, dreams integrate the unconscious so you become whole. For Zen, waking up from the dream of identity is enlightenment. The language is different. The insight is the same. Jung wrote, "To awaken from the dream of the ego is the beginning of true consciousness." This is pure Zen. White Medium Star Part 8. Awareness. The place where Jung and Zen merge into one. Zen Buddhism teaches that your true nature is awareness, a stillness, a presence, the witnessing mind, that which is beyond thought. Jung hinted at the same idea. There is a center in the psyche that is not the ego, but the observer of the ego. He called it the self. Zen calls it awareness before thought. Same realization. Different culture. This is the secret connection that changes everything. Backhand index pointing right. Jung gives you the map. Zen gives you the destination. If you're here for Part 2, you're not just listening, you're transforming. Most people never reach this point. Most turn back when the ideas get too deep, too uncomfortable, too close to the truth. But you kept going. And that means you're ready for the part that truly changes everything. Because now we move into the territory Jung approached carefully, Zen masters guarded fiercely, and the modern world completely misunderstands. The merging of psychological integration and spiritual awakening. Let's continue. White Medium Star Part 9. The danger of half-awakening. One of Jung's greatest fears was the premature dissolution of the ego. He wrote, "To lose the ego before it is matured is to fall into the unconscious." Zen masters warned of the same danger. They called it Zen sickness, a state where someone glimpses emptiness but lacks the grounding, discipline, and integration to stabilize it. They become detached but not wise, calm but not clear, empty but not awakened. Jung saw this too. He treated patients who had spiritual experiences that shattered their fragile ego structures instead of liberating them. He recognized something profound. Backhand index pointing right. Awakening without integration is fragmentation. Zen recognized it too. Backhand index pointing right. Meditation without wisdom is illusion. You can't skip steps. You can't bypass your wounds. You can't escape your shadow. You can't evaporate your trauma by being spiritual. Jung insisted on psychological grounding. Zen insisted on mental discipline. Together, they point to the full truth. Backhand index pointing right, you must build the self before you can transcend it. This is the secret almost no spiritual tradition admits. White medium star part 10. The shadow and the void. Two sides of the same gate. Jung taught that the shadow holds your fear, your anger, your power, your shame, your sexuality, your suppressed creativity, your forgotten potential. Zen taught that the illusory self holds your attachments to your cravings, your fears, your aversions, your clinging, your identity narratives. Different languages, same gate. Here is the revelation most people never see. Backhand index pointing right, Jung's shadow equals Zen's illusion of self. Why? Because everything you repress builds the false self. And everything you cling to protects that same false self. The shadow and the ego are not separate enemies. They are teammates in the construction of illusion. Zen dissolves illusion through direct awareness. Jung integrates illusion through understanding. And this is the key. When the shadow is integrated, the ego becomes transparent. When the ego becomes transparent, the illusion dissolves. Shadow work prepares the mind for enlightenment. Zen finishes what psychology begins. White medium star part 11. The map of awakening. The Jung-Zen model. Let's combine the two systems into one unified awakening path. This is the model psychologists missed and meditators rarely articulate. White medium star stage 1, the psychological path, Jung. You learn to see your shadow, to face repressed emotions, to integrate trauma, to understand your patterns, to recognize unconscious motives, to develop a stable, mature ego, to stop projecting your pain onto others. This is individuation becoming whole on the human level. Only when this stage is complete can stage 2 begin. White medium star stage 2. The spiritual path, Zen. You learn to witness thoughts without becoming them, to see emotions without identifying with them, to observe the body without me, to sit in pure awareness, to dissolve the illusion of identity, to pierce through the ego, to awaken from the dream. This is enlightenment, becoming free on the existential level. Put together, backhand index pointing right, Jung equals liberation within the self, Zen equals liberation from the self. This is the full journey humanity has been searching for. White medium star part 12. The koan and the complex. Zen Buddhism uses koans, mysterious riddles designed to break the mind's logic. What was your original face before your parents were born? Jung discovered complexes, clusters of emotion and memory that hijack consciousness. Zen koans dissolve logic so the mind can access pure awareness. Jungian analysis dissolves complexes so the mind can access wholeness. Different tools, same goal. Backhand index pointing right, break the illusion of the limited, suffering self. Koans expose the emptiness of identity. Complex work exposes the emotional roots of identity. Both collapse the false I. When you see through the I, you wake up. White medium star part 13. Why Zen is the completion of Jung. Jung hinted at something extraordinary near the end of his life. He wrote, "The self is not wholly personal. It reaches beyond the individual into the collective and the eternal." This is Zen. The eternal self Jung speaks of is not a personal identity. It is the field of awareness itself. Zen calls it original mind, a suchness, Buddha nature, awareness without owner, the clear light. Jung touched the doorway but did not cross it. Zen walked through. This is why Jung said, "I have tried to pave the way for a deeper understanding which is found in the East." He wasn't being poetic. He was confessing. Zen Buddhism completes the psychological path he dedicated his life to. White medium star part 14. What awakening feels like. The Jung-Zen description. People imagine enlightenment as bliss, a light, a supernatural vision, cosmic downloads, eternal peace. But the real experience is different. Here is what happens, described through the merger of Jung and Zen. White medium star 1. The storyline collapses. The narrative of my life becomes transparent. You stop believing the story you've always told yourself. Identity feels like a costume. White medium star 2. Emotions lose ownership. Anger is just heat. Sadness is just heaviness. Fear is just contraction. Nothing is my emotion anymore. White medium star 3. Thoughts appear without a thinker. They arise like clouds, pass like weather, and disappear into silence. White medium star 4. The shadow transforms. Everything repressed comes up not to attack you but to be freed. What once terrified you now feels like harmless energy. White medium star 5. Awareness becomes centerless. You feel, there is experience, but no one experiencing it. This is the Zen state Jung sensed but never fully reached. White medium star 6. Suffering ends at the root. Because suffering requires a self to cling, fear, desire, resist, and protect. When the self dissolves, suffering loses its home. This is awakening, not magical, not mystical, not dramatic, just real. White medium star part 15. The final teaching Jung and Zen share. Both Jung and Zen ultimately point to one revelation. Backhand index pointing right, you are not who you think you are. The ego is a story, a character, a psychological mask. Jung studied the story. Zen transcended it. But the truth behind the story is the same. You are the awareness witnessing the character, not the character itself. This realization changes everything. Your past loses its grip. Your trauma loses its identity. Your patterns lose their momentum. Your fears lose their power. Your attachments lose their claws. And for the first time, you are free. White medium star part 16. Final message. Walk both paths. If you've listened this far, you're not seeking entertainment. You're seeking transformation. You now carry the understanding that Jung and Zen together provide the complete map. Backhand index pointing right, Jung awakens the unconscious. Zen awakens consciousness itself. Walk both paths and the mind becomes whole, clear, and free. Before you go, comment, backhand index pointing right, I walk both paths. And subscribe to Buddha Unfiltered for more deep-cut wisdom the modern world forgot. Your awakening has already begun.